Hello and welcome to Cosmic Commentary's Real Football podcast, because we talk about the real football. Today we wrapped up the EPL, the European spots, who got relegated before moving on to Italy, indirect free kicks, why should they be implemented into the game, and of course, leading up to the UCL, huge upsets on the cards. We're predicting some very interesting results, so please have a listen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, joining us today we have Ozzie with me and Cos. Ozzie, welcome back to the show.
Hey buddy, what's going on?
Yeah, that's you. That's you, Ozzie. That's you. You're the only Aussie on this one. So if I say Ozzie, I'm talking to you.
Oh, sweet. That's always good. It's good to know.
Cos, who will be getting pasta at some stage during this conversation, yeah. But I've already had my pizza, so please don't be envious.
Yeah. Well,
you got to eat the right way. But all right. So the Premier League has concluded. We have finished the Premier League. We know who's made the top four. Congratulations, Ozzie, Manchester United for third spot.
Yeah, I have no idea how that happened.
How much attention have you been paying to the Premier League since the return from coronavirus?
Not that much, but I thought Leicester were picking up a bit of momentum.
That well and truly just faltered. It just fell away after the coronavirus. To put things into perspective, Manchester United had, I think, something ridiculous. It was like a 20-point lead over Leicester, and like I think 20 goal difference less than Leicester, and now United, at the end of the whole thing, United had a 4+ goal difference and were up 4 points ahead. So they made up 24 points since January and a goal difference of 24 as well. So like a ridiculous, it's like complete reversal of form pretty much.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
So it might be something to do with Brendan Rodgers. Some people say he's the bottling champion, but you know, that's just how it went down. And so for those who don't know, obviously Manchester United and Chelsea made up the last two Champions League spots to go with Liverpool and Manchester City. Wolves just missed out on the top 6, so they're waiting on the result of the FA Cup to work out if they're playing Europa next season, and if they win the Europa League. So actually no, if they win the Europa League, they're in the Champions League, so there's that. But and Tottenham made, I think, 6th spot behind Leicester, so Leicester and Tottenham will be in Europa League next season, and the FA Cup final I think was already sorted last time, so it's Arsenal versus Chelsea, so it's an all London final, and yeah, obviously Chelsea with the opportunity to Arsenal with the opportunity rather to make Europa League through that. If Arsenal don't win, then Wolves get the last spot in Europa League, and if Chelsea win, then they just get a trophy, and Arsenal don't get a trophy, which will just be, fun for everyone. But that's more or less the situation. I think Arsenal finished, was it 10th, Cos, in the end? I can't remember what it was. It was somewhere in that region. 8th.
Arsenal finished 8th.
That's right, because they won their last game. Oh, right. And the relegation spots. It went down to the wire. In the end, Aston Villa did just enough to get through with a draw against West Ham. They scored first. West Ham equalised. Bournemouth won their game, but Watford lost against Arsenal after being 3-0 down. They almost came back to make it 3-3, but it just wasn't to be. Even if they had drawn, though, it wouldn't have been enough. But it just means that they finished below Bournemouth. So, Bournemouth too little too late. And actually, Ozzie, you probably wouldn't remember this, but Cos would remember the incident with the ghost goal from VAR that was but wasn't, between Sheffield and Aston Villa. And so Ozzie, do you know anything about this goal?
No, I don't. What happened?
Right, so to bring up the context, so it was a stuff up from VAR, where basically, you know how goal line technology uses Hawkeye, so it's the same thing as in tennis, where they've got the 6 cameras or whatever around, and they suss out where the ball is, and and that's how they basically figure out where the ball is in terms of has it crossed the line or not. But in this incident, the players basically, there were so many players surrounding the ball that VAR didn't pick up where the ball was, and the ball was it was half a meter inside the net. It was just ridiculously obvious that it was a goal, and the goal line technology didn't get triggered, so the referee just waved it on as if it wasn't a goal, and the goal wasn't awarded. And if that goal was awarded, then Sheffield would have won that game, Aston Villa would have lost. At the time, it was Sheffield chasing European football, but now, had that goal been allowed and Sheffield held on to the win, because the game ended up 0-0, and that would have been the only goal of the game, which would have meant that,
Aston
Villa would have been relegated if that goal was rightfully allowed. So, apparently Bournemouth have I don't know if they're actually going to go to court or anything like that, but they could sue VAR for that stuff up because it cost them relegation.
Yeah,
essentially.
That's so crazy. It's like the slightest of margins was the difference between a Europa League spot and a relegation between two teams.
Yeah.
It just kind of blows my mind into how competitive the Premier League is.
Well, okay, so they weren't anywhere near each other. Just
wait. I have a serious question. They can sue VAR. Does that mean VAR's like its own separate company?
Well, I think they can. So they can sue the company that. So Hawkeye, I imagine it might be Hawkeye. I'm not sure. I don't know the specifics.
Right, the company that provides
just
the technology.
To clarify, Ozzie, Sheffield and Aston Villa weren't fighting for the same spots.
I understand. Aston Villa, they had an opportunity for Europa League, but not Sheffield.
No. Aston Villa didn't have an opportunity for Europa League. So Sheffield. So okay, let me just think. So the team affected was Bournemouth, right? Who weren't part of this game at all. Sheffield and Aston Villa were the teams playing against each other. Sheffield was pushing for a European spot at the time. This was just straight after the coronavirus, after they came back from the coronavirus. So this was probably 7 or 8 games away from the end of the season. And Sheffield could have gone back into the Europa League spots or even the Champions League spots at the time. I'm not sure. I think they could have made the top 4 actually at the time. So that's even more insane, right? But Aston Villa was in a relegation fight, right? So they're at the opposite end of the table. And at the end of the season, Aston Villa survived by a single point. So and that point could be you could say that point that they won in that game, which shouldn't have been a point, it should have been 0 points. Essentially cost Bournemouth, the next team in line, a relegation spot. So there's actually a bit of a precedent for this. What was I going to say? Back in the day when I can't remember who was it might have been I can't remember who got relegated, but West Ham was the team that survived, and they were the last team to survive, and they were embroiled in this. It was Sheffield. So yeah, there you go. This is the last time Sheffield was in the Premier League. When Sheffield was in the Premier League, they got relegated on the last day after West Ham, I think, scored either a late winner or a late equaliser. Basically, they got enough points to survive on the last day, thanks to Carlos Tevez. Now, Carlos Tevez was part of what's the word? like a third party, because there's a rule in the Premier League where third parties can't have basically an interest in the player. So in other leagues, you can have people that aren't the club or just entities outside the club that essentially have shares in a player. And in England, they don't allow that. And West Ham basically did something dodgy where something like that was going on, and they had Tevez and Mascherano, who were both, I think, I'm not sure if Mascherano was partly owned, but they might have been. But Tevez was definitely partly owned by some other entity or something like that. So they technically had him illegally, and he got them to survive at the end of the season. And at the end of the whole thing, it turned out that, you know, West Ham was in fact in breach, but obviously Sheffield didn't get to survive. They just West Ham just got fined, basically. So we might find something similar happening here, where in this case it's not a club actually doing something wrong. It's a VAR or whatever that maybe, you know, they might get I don't know, they might have to pay out Bournemouth some sort of money or something like that, but ultimately it's not going to save them from relegation. So I guess it's up to Bournemouth if they want to chase that avenue. But yeah, there's an interesting bit of trivia on that one. So poor Bournemouth, but you know, well, you know, good.
Well, they got rimmed twice, but they got money out of it the first time. Maybe they'll get money again.
Except that was a different that was a different club and different circumstances.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Like
yeah.
a lot of time ago. That was Sheffield before. Now it's Bournemouth, so slightly different situation. But yeah, that's what's happening down that end of the table. So give me 1 second. I'm just gonna have a sip. Anything to say on that, Ozzie?
I'm gonna go back to the Man United thing, the top four, because I was looking at over the points, and there's such a huge gap between United and Chelsea and Man City that I'm just thinking they don't even deserve to be in the top four.
You mean Liverpool?
Yeah, sorry, Liverpool.
Not a big gap between United and Chelsea.
I don't know why I said Man City. They didn't win the league. Massive gap between Liverpool and City, but the gap between United and City and Chelsea is massive. They shouldn't even be in the top four. Like the gap's so big, they should just change it to a top three this season, because the rest of the
top
players,
top two.
Yeah, or just top two, because the rest of the season was just so trash for every other team. They don't even deserve to be in the Champions League.
Well, a bit of context again. Last season, Manchester United got the same amount of points and ended up 6th. So the spread of points has been different this season, but yeah, Liverpool's so far ahead of everyone, and Manchester United actually finished closer to getting relegated than they were to Liverpool. So
yeah,
they were 33 points away from Liverpool and 32 points away from relegated Bournemouth. So that's I think Bournemouth and Watford. So
yeah,
they were both on the same amount of points. So yeah, 32 points from there. So yeah, that just gives you a bit of context of the gaps between certain clubs. And obviously Leicester finished, I think, 3 points shy of Chelsea and 4 points shy of Manchester United because of the last day. Were you aware that the last day had Manchester United up against Leicester, Ozzie?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, well...
I was about to lie.
Feeling you on it.
No, I don't. I have no idea.
No, so the last day actually had... so Manchester United was in 3rd. Leicester was in 5th. Chelsea was in 4th. And Wolves were in 6th. Okay. And on the last day, Manchester United played Leicester, so that's third versus 5th, and Chelsea playing Wolves was 4th versus 6th on the last day, and they were all to like determine, you know, Champions League spots, Europa League spots, all that kind of thing. And basically, Chelsea just needed to draw against Wolves to go through. They ended up winning 3-0. And Manchester United need to draw with Leicester to go, or win, obviously. They ended up winning. But there was a possibility that if Manchester United drew with Leicester and Chelsea lost to Wolves, then Chelsea would miss out on Champions League. But it didn't come to pass, so Manchester United ended up finishing third. Chelsea in fourth, and Leicester fifth. Tottenham went up to sixth with a draw, and obviously Wolves lost, so they dropped down to seventh, just like they were last season. And so it's all set up. We know what's happening next season, except for that last Europa League spot, and potentially a fifth Champions League spot, depending on how Wolves and Arsenal, I guess, go in the Europa League, because they're both still in it. Actually, I didn't even realise that, because I forgot that Arsenal were in the Europa League. Or did they lose? No, they lost. No, so they're not in the Europa League. Yeah, Arsenal.
No, they're not. They got beaten by Olympiacos.
Yeah, there you go. So sorry, I got a bit excited there. I thought Arsenal could have been the Champions League, but
that was funny. As I remember that before.
Yeah, I know how much you love your English clubs, Mike, but Arsenal are no longer in the Europa League.
The UK clubs, got to get those Rangers going. But I think Manchester United are in the Europa League still. So it's between them and Wolves, I think, as to any potential... Manchester United don't really care that much anymore, but Wolves definitely... would be very interesting to see them in the Champions League next season. Don't know if they'd be up for it, but if they win the Europa League, they probably are up for it. So it'd be a decent effort to get there. But the leagues that are still going, Italy, got Inter. Sorry, not Inter Milan. Why am I talking about Inter Milan? Obviously, Juventus has won the league. The top four is sewed up. It's just a matter of who finishes second, third, and fourth, and they're literally a point apart. And I think Atalanta's got the head-to-head on everyone, but Atalanta, Lazio, Inter, they're all sort of just leapfrogging each other intermittently, and Juventus doing their best to just make it look like
they are, because to finish in these positions on the last day, Atalanta is playing Inter at home.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
And Napoli's playing Lazio.
Oh, really?
Lazio
Napoli's not even in the picture now, but I think they're just about out of...
So just to put this into perspective, Inter's second on 79 points, and Atalanta and Lazio third and fourth on 78.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And I think they're... are they 4 points behind Juventus?
Inter's 4 points behind Juventus. Yeah. And Atalanta and Lazio are 5 points.
And there's one game left.
There's one game left.
And Napoli are out of contention for Europa now, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Milan's overtaken them. I think they're 4 points clear. So Milan's...
Yeah, Milan and Roma have the Europa League spot. Yep. Milan and Roma, have the Europa League spots sewn up.
What did you just call Roma?
Roper. I was half saying Europa League and Roma.
I thought you said Euroma, but what's going? So you're going to say something, Oz?
No, I was just going to say that's not the pasta dish you're having tonight, is it? No,
the pasta, pastas for the. The reason I bring up the Italian league, though, other than the fact that it is, I think, the last league to go, because I think Spain's finished, obviously England's just finished, and all the other leagues had finished earlier on or had been completely annulled or just made incomplete or whatever it is. What was I going to say? Italy is the last team. Once they finish, the Champions League starts up again, and Italy becomes very relevant because there's Atalanta and Juventus still in the Champions League. Inter's in the Europa League. Roma, I think, is on their way out of the Europa League. They're not quite out
They
yet.
they're on their way.
Yeah, they're not out yet, but I think they're 3-0 down after the first leg. So, good luck to that. And then, of course, Napoli still in the Champions League against Barcelona after a 1-1 draw. Who knows what's going to happen there, because it's just, it's crazy time now, and the second leg's supposed to be in Barcelona, but no fans, so no advantage. So
yeah, look, anything could happen. Look, Barcelona's a stronger team, but Napoli aren't a bad team either. So
yeah, well, that's
look, anything could happen.
That's just it. Napoli's not a bad team. They've been struggling in the domestic league, but they're not. They beat Liverpool last season, and then this.
Well, yeah, domestically they've struggled this season, but in Europe they haven't. They've been pretty good. So
were they in Liverpool's group again?
It'll be interesting. Yes, they
did.
were.
They beat them again?
They did beat them again.
Yeah, they did beat them again.
Yeah.
And then they drew away, didn't they?
I think they did.
Yeah, they beat them at home.
So.
They drew away, but they still finished second to Liverpool because they didn't get the results against one of the weaker teams in the group. So, which ended up why they came up against Barcelona. So, and Liverpool got knocked out anyway by Atletico. But yeah, it's a bit crazy, and also Juventus playing Lyon after being a goal down, but Juventus, the big advantage they have over Lyon is that they've been playing football for the last
they have
just non-stop basically, and the French league stopped how long ago now? It was like they never came back, so they haven't played football for like 3 or 4 months basically. So
well, that's right. It pretty much stopped when the coronavirus got out of hand in Europe.
Yeah.
And they pretty much called it a season, so they haven't played in ages.
But they have been playing games now. I think PSG played against Saint. I don't know what context though. I don't know if they're friendlies or like a mini tournament of some sort. But the French teams have been playing the last few games. But I get the feeling that
PSG did play in the Cup of France. And they beat
Saint Etienne
and Saint Etienne.
Yeah, so, no. Say it how you say it. I'm just doing.
No. It probably is Saint Etienne. Yeah. But the thing that happened in that game actually was Mbappe's injury.
Yeah,
which was quite significant. So he's going to be out of the Champions League and probably the start of next season as well.
And that's Atalanta too.
I think. Yeah.
Atalanta's playing PSG, so. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a huge. I looked at the bookies. I put a cheeky bet on Atalanta because they're $7 to beat PSG, and PSG have not been playing any football basically. They've lost Mbappe, and they've got the home advantage. But we all know that it's not really a home advantage. So,
well, like I said, Mike, if Atalanta are not taken seriously, you'll be 2-0 down before you even know it.
Yeah, well, it's,
that's how they play. They'll just put the goals.
Yeah, they've been they had a little stretch where they stopped conceding as well, but they've been conceding again. But yeah, Atalanta's I think fallen off.
They've scored 98. Yeah. They have scored 98 goals this season in Serie A, one of the toughest leagues to score goals in. They've scored 98 goals.
And in fact,
it's incredible.
This season is the first time since I think ever in Serie A that the top goal scorer has scored 30 goals plus, and 2 people have done it. So there were a lot of penalties in that, by the way, but still, to Ronaldo and Immobile, and Immobile I think is 4 goals clear of Ronaldo.
Yeah, he's the top scorer.
Yeah, he's been prolific.
Mind you, both of them. Now, just wait for it. Both of those players have scored 12 penalties each in the league alone.
Yeah, well, that's yep.
Yeah,
that makes
a goal's a goal, and you do have to put them away. I mean, it's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, no, but I find it amazing that first of all that they've had that many to take for the season. I mean, that's like in the Premier League. I think Liverpool have had 5 penalties this season. United have had heaps of penalties this season. They're like way ahead of everyone else, and they've had 14, I think. But they're like miles ahead of everyone. Whereas in Serie A, there've been heaps of penalties this season. in the sense
Yeah,
that
well,
I
the
think
referee-
the lowest penalty amount I think was like at least 10 penalties, which is just like nuts.
The referee gets paid a bonus when he pays a penalty.
Does he actually? Because
No,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But what I have heard,
I just made that up. It's probably true.
like promoting the Italian stereotype. But what was I going to say?
Yeah.
However, I have heard that in Italy, the referees have been a bit trigger friendly because the interpretation of the handball rule this season, and it's been a bit different, and it's just been very.
It's extremely strict, basically, and a lot of dubious penalties have been given.
Yeah, it's very generous at the strikers.
But according to the rule, it's been applied correctly.
Exactly, it's been correct. But it's just been
just very strict.
Exactly, and it'll be interesting to see if next season. I mean, handball though is one of those ones which, like,
it's so complicated. There's so many variables. Like if you put your hand out to try and stop a shot, then yeah, it's a penalty. But sometimes you sort of try and throw your body in the way, and your arm seems to flail, and it kind of gets in the way, or you dive to try and stop a shot, and it hits your arm, and you are stopping that shot with your arm technically, and it is a handball. But I mean, a penalty is just so harsh. They should come up with another rule that maybe it's like an indirect free kick, or I don't know, just something else instead of just a straight penalty, because it's such a game decider. You know, you give someone a penalty, that's game, set, match sometimes, depending on the game. Yeah,
exactly. Especially for the defensive side, it seems a bit harsh. I know, obviously in the Premier League, they've got the ridiculous rule where if you're the goal scorer and it touches any part of your arm, even if not deliberate, and it's like where normally no one would even blink an eye at it, they'd be like, that's not a handball. And it's just given a handball because that's just, they've made the rule just super, super, super strict. If it touches your hand, it's a handball. If it ends up being a goal. But yeah, on that defensive side, Ozzie, because you lose so much, and it's not even if it's a shot, like if someone just chips the ball up slightly and it just hits your hand, it doesn't really affect the play at all. It's still technically, a handball by the interpretation of this rule. And I know I've been in many situations where, like, you just look at the referee and go, what do you want me to do? Chop my arm off, where your arms are by your side, you look away, right, and the ball hits your arm, and it looks a lot worse because, after it hits your arm, it knocks your arm away from your body.
Everything looks worse in slow motion. And that was the thing, like...
No, even in fast motion it looks worse. That's just
but I reckon slow motion looks even more worse, because sometimes the referees see something in live action, they're like, oh, that's not a penalty, and everyone's screaming, waving their arms about, so they go and check VAR, and it's in super slow-mo, and to me, I've seen so many where it's not a penalty, and they go back and I'm thinking, oh, the ref won't give the penalty, and the ref gives a penalty. I'm just thinking, what the hell is going on? And especially the World Cup, I saw, we all probably saw, we all love the World Cup, but the game between Iran and Portugal, the guys, he's crossed the ball over to the other side of the field, and the Iranian guy heads it down to the Portuguese player, and the Portuguese it just hits his hand, like his hand is attached to his body, right? It hits his hand. I'm like, and he gives a penalty. I go, how the hell do you give the penalty for that? He's just standing there.
Very easily, I blow my whistle, I point to the spot, and it's a penalty. So
I just found it crazy because the guy's half a meter away, if not closer to him. He heads it down into his arm, and it's a penalty. I go, okay, well, they need to come up with something else, because
No, you're absolutely right, Ozzie. It's very, very harsh, very, very harsh, and it does change the game, no doubt.
I really. Going back to what you were saying before, Ozzie, about the indirect free kick, I want to see that happen, because it's possible, it exists, but it's almost traditional that indirect free kicks are not given in the box because God knows why. That would just add such an extra dimension to the game, right? Because you get this non-deliberate handball, right? Well, which would normally be an indirect free kick outside the box. But the referee won't give it sort of inside the box. And I don't know the rules religiously enough to know if there's some sort of reason why it's always a penalty or not, basically. Because the only time you really see indirect free kicks in the box is when there's a back pass, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, which happens extremely rarely.
Exactly.
What do you mean back pass and the keeper picks it up?
Yeah.
Well, I see that as a similar handball to the one with a bloke, someone kicking it into someone's hand. I reckon that's the same kind of level of handball. If
yeah, well, no, 100%. I mean, do either of you guys, not necessarily a lot, but watch field hockey? Because they've got two different kinds of what are they called? Penalties.
I only watch the real hockey, mate.
The ice hockey. So in field hockey, they've got two types of penalties. One is a penalty, and I think it's fairly similar.
I know, and then the other one's kind of like a corner.
It's like a corner penalty. So it's basically, I think the equivalent you could say it's like a corner taken from.
Well, it's kind of like a free kick because they take the corner and they pump it out to the guy on the edge of the area, and then he takes a shot. So
yeah, well, the closest thing you could get to it in outdoor, you probably say it's like taking a corner between the 6-yard box and the 18-yard box. So like from the byline, basically halfway between the corner and the actual goals, or something like that. So basically really close, and you can just pass it to someone and tap it in. But
I would love to see that come in.
But I don't think we'd need that. I think having an indirect free kick would be enough, where you've got like a guy taking a kick where they have to like an indirect free kick, like we've seen it happen. Obviously, I think it would have a similar effect where there has to be a touch before the next kick is taken, and I reckon that would just create like a whole new dynamic to the game, because it's definitely not a guaranteed goal. We've seen it so many times happen that you get an indirect free kick, but it's difficult to put away because it's a really good opportunity to score, right? And yeah, like Ozzie said, it's sort of that in-between foul where it shouldn't be a penalty, but maybe there should be some sort of free kick. And if they had indirect free kicks, that would just and it's not like it's making up a new rule. It's sort of implementing the rules that are already there. And I just think it would be a fascinating addition to the game. Just seeing, because imagine seeing an indirect free kick like a few times a week. I mean, that would just be inside the box, obviously.
No, it'd be awesome. It'll be a good addition to the game, because I remember like whenever I see a back pass to the keeper and the keeper picks it up and then you get that indirect free kick, it creates a lot of excitement and tension.
Because it's a rare event.
It's a rare event, but also it can lead to a goal pretty easily. So
I don't think I've ever seen it lead to a goal, to be honest. Like,
well, I'm just saying it can.
Yeah, no. I get that. Completely. I'm with you, but what I'm saying is that of all the times I've seen the indirect, I think because it's so rare that no one trains it.
No one practices it.
No one practices it. Exactly. Yeah. And if you practice it, I'm sure you could sort of.
Well, that's why I think it's more fair to have for them to put that in place with the more with the penalties that are less likely to be penalties, because a penalty is a be all and end all of a goal. You're taking a free shot at
basically.
Goal. It's not fair when you get all these different kind of handballs. So the ones that aren't as severe, they shouldn't be punished with such certain penalties. So
it's basically if the ball just bounces 100%. Up and taps you in the arm or hits you in the hand or something like that, it's just ridiculous to punish that with the same thing as someone slide tackling someone, like just like no ball whatsoever, and like just complete, or wrestling a person to the ground or something like that. They're not on the same level. So
but I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you reckon it opens the game up more, makes it more exciting because defenders have to sort of change their style now, and there's obviously more goals? Like, I don't know, it's a good and a bad thing,
No, well, I think ultimately it wouldn't necessarily change the goals, but it would just be more proportional. Because in soccer, like you say, be all and end all penalty. Like if you get like the two things that really screw up a game, a penalty and a red card. Sometimes they did well in the Premier League, not just the Premier League, but just in football. How they got rid of the double penalty, in the sense of if you get a essentially a last man offence in the box, then it's not a red card and a penalty. It's just a penalty.
Okay.
Because it's like a double whammy. Because essentially, if you get rid of the way they've justified it is essentially that if you prevent a goal scoring opportunity, then the penalty reverses that. It basically gives the goal scoring opportunity back to them. So you don't actually lose the goal scoring opportunity then when they get the penalty. But when it's outside the box, then obviously it's a red card because they don't have the penalty. So, but that's been in for like three seasons now.
Well, see, that's super logical, and they've obviously thought that through, and it makes a lot of sense. So they should think about these penalties as well. I mean, I think VAR is really good. I think it's changed the game a lot. It's added, it's just better for the game. Like a lot of other games have had the benefit of this for a number of years, like cricket and tennis, and it's made cricket and tennis 1,000 times better because then it really pinpoints who's the winner, who's the better player, who's the better team.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of World Cups could have been different if they had this technology a while back.
You know what I miss with tennis?
What's that?
This bloody Hawkeye has stopped all the fights with the referee. When the players used to lose it with the referees. I used to love it. That was why I watched tennis. If they get disproven, they just get butthurt and annoyed the whole game. Like they can't even.
Are you serious?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but no, I totally agree. And actually, because obviously VAR this season was the first season that England embraced VAR, and it's had ups and downs. Some people, I think, the main issue was that they changed the two rule changes. One was the handball, and the second, which was, as we've discussed in other episodes, with offside. They've essentially changed what an offside is. It's no longer a sort of. It's now if the hair on your toenail. If you have a hair on your toenail and it's beyond the last defender, you're offside. So that's been a you would think that's the rule was originally that if you're in line with the last defender, but in reality, the rule was if you were within like a toenail of the last defender, you're technically onside because it's not beyond the margin of error that you'd expect a linesman to actually see with their with the naked eye essentially. So those two rule changes they've come with VAR, and a lot of people have blamed them on VAR, but you can blame the offside on VAR because it's just the way they interpret the rules, but the handball rule has really just been a weird rule. I don't know if you guys obviously I don't know why. None of you guys like that rule. Nobody likes that rule.
Well, I didn't like it, but it did make for an amazing World Cup. So I don't know. You can't really have
not the VAR. I meant just the handball rule, the one that only the strikers essentially a handball. No matter what happens, if it touches your arm, even if it like grazes, the hairs on your forearm, then it's a handball and the goal doesn't stand. Whereas if it happens to a defender, that doesn't happen. So
that rule you're talking about with the player getting the goal scoring opportunity back.
That's been around for like 3 years.
Man, I wish they had that when Harry Kill got sent off in the 2010 World Cup.
No. Well, that was a red. No, but the difference in that Ozzie is I think they already had it at that stage. But Harry Kewell stopped the actual goal as opposed to stopping a goal-scoring opportunity. So if you stop a goal like Suarez did against Ghana, then it's a straight red and a penalty, because you didn't just stop a goal-scoring opportunity; you stopped the actual ball.
But then again, we need that VAR because he was just standing there with his arms by his side and it hit his arm.
That's the thing. I reckon if we had VAR now, he'd still get sent off.
Oh god!
Just because it was sort of, I don't know, but I don't want to go too far into that one because I remember having the longest conversations on the Harry Kewell red card, and I've seen both sides, and I think it was a 50-50, even though at the time I was adamant that he shouldn't have been sent off. But anyway, that was a unfortunate World Cup for Australia with referees. We've got some dodgy red cards. But all right, moving on from all of that, we've got the Champions League coming up. What comes first, the Champions League or the Championship? Hard to say, isn't it?
No, well, the Champions League comes first now because the Championship's done for me.
No, with the Championship, I know it's done for you. I'll just do a quick mention of the Championship. The final is going to be between Brentford and Fulham, both going through 3-2 on aggregate. After playing the first leg, in quotation marks, away from home, but the scorelines were completely different. But anyway. I found it interesting that they didn't take away goals into account for those home and away legs, so I don't know why they did them. I don't know why they didn't just play it on over one leg, but I guess tradition. But either way, those two are through to the final, and we're going to have another London team in the Premier League next season to replace, well, take your pick, out of Norwich, Bournemouth and Watford.
Well, we'll go Watford because Watford's a London-based club in itself. Or not?
Are they?
Not London, just outside of London. They're pretty close.
Okay,
Yeah.
So they're the closest ones to it, but not quite London.
Yeah.
Okay. I was not aware. I just assumed Watford were from the north.
No, they're close to London. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Bournemouth's from the north, but
No, Bournemouth's from the south.
oh, no, they are too.
What do you-
They are completely from the south.
Oh, well.
Norwich isn't from the north, isn't it either? They're all from the
They're
south.
all from the south, yeah.
Yeah, so all these south clubs are going out, and back come Leeds, and West Brom, and Ozzie. Yes, Leeds is back. Just as a, I was before off air, I was having a conversation with Ozzie, and he was not aware that Leeds is back, but now he's aware.
Yeah, Leeds are back, and I'm stoked. I'm absolutely stoked.
Yeah, well, Cos is actually going to be watching the Premier League now, so.
Yeah, religiously.
Watching it live. Sorry, watching it live.
Well, let's hope they don't break the rules again and get fined and drop.
They didn't
3 leagues.
break the rules.
No, they didn't break the rules. They just, decided to take out a massive loan to make the Champions League semi-finals. and then when they didn't qualify for the Champions League next season, they had no money coming in to pay the loan off, so they had to sell all their players.
Oh, that's so funny.
The last time they were in the Premier League was 16 years ago, but they still managed to beat Manchester United in that time. So good on them.
Yeah, they did, but the old rivalries get you in the end, in one way or another.
That was a Ferguson Manchester United as well. It
Yeah.
wasn't even like dodgy, crappy David Moyes Manchester United. It was under Alex Ferguson.
It was in the FA Cup
at Old Trafford.
In the FA Cup, Old Trafford, Leeds were in the League One, the third division.
Yeah, Leeds were in League One.
And they somehow knocked off Man United at home.
And I don't think there were anybody in League One as well at the time. I think they were just a nothing team in League One. They're not really pushing.
They didn't get promoted.
They were mid-table. Yeah, they were mid-table. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they probably. Well, I don't remember exactly where they were finishing in League One, but
I just remember they were hovering in mid-table a lot until they finally got promoted. They first went to the playoff spots, failed, and then got automatically promoted. So, and history has repeated itself because Leeds, having won the second division, this also happened last time Liverpool won the league. So 30 years ago, Liverpool, when they won the league, then Leeds also got promoted from the second division.
Yeah, and it's funny how history repeats itself, isn't it?
Whoa, what the hell? That's crazy.
Yeah. And then 2 seasons later, Leeds won it wasn't the Premier League. It was the first division because it was the last season before it was no longer the Premier League.
Yeah, so hopefully history repeats itself again.
Yeah, and Leeds make top 4, and then they win the Premier League.
That'd be insane. No, that's not going to happen.
Realistically, what are the chances of that?
Very, very low. Like 0.1,
not high.
0.001%.
Who's on their team?
I'll throw it in
they should get Messi. He's a free agent.
Free. No, he's not a free agent yet.
He might want to play under Bielsa. He did actually say, and I went on a rant last week because he
wanted to pull Bielsa to Barcelona.
Yeah, and I sort of said, no, well, why don't you come to Leeds and cut 80% of your wages? So that's
take up a real challenge and bring a team like Leeds.
You know, he's no longer obligated to be at Barcelona. He's done everything for them.
It's like, look, Ronaldo, you play for best team in Italy. I play for.
Can you imagine him
Leeds.
in the Premier League? He gets so badly hacked in the Champions League if he ever plays an English team. I can't imagine him copying that week in, week out.
Yeah, no, you got a good point, Ozzie, actually.
I'm not saying he's not capable of that, or he can't handle the Premier League or anything like that. But I'm just kind of worried for his health. Like, if he goes in the Premier League, people are going to chop the shit out of him.
That is true. Actually, I mean, skill-wise, he's got what it takes, obviously. But no, physically, you make a very good point.
I don't think all teams will, but definitely the likes of Burnley and possibly West Brom next season, and
just Sheffield United. Those sort of real.
Sheffield's probably going to be no love lost there, but look, he's not coming. So,
that's exactly.
But
not with that attitude.
No, not that attitude. But then I think. I just want to round off with the Champions League. Looking forward to that. I think that starts up in a week on the 8th, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. I might be getting my wires crossed because
the 8th.
August is also the 8th.
No, the 8th of August. So, that's when it.
Yes, the 8th is the 8th of the 8th.
Yep.
Oh.
So I think there's like 4 or 5 games on the same day.
Well, there's two on Saturday morning, or they're Friday night in Europe, I suppose, and 2 on Sunday morning here. So you got Juventus and Lyon, and Man City and Real Madrid on Saturday.
And the context for those ones is Juventus are 1-0 down after the first leg, and Manchester City are up 2-1 after the first leg.
Yeah,
and playing the second leg in Real Madrid.
No, it's in Manchester.
Sorry, yes, they're playing the second leg in Manchester. But they won.
But they won at Real Madrid, so they should go through.
And Juventus is playing at home as well.
At home against Lyon, and then on Sunday morning, you've got Bayern Munich against Chelsea in Munich, and Barcelona against Napoli at the Nou Camp. So we'll see what happens.
And the context for those ones is Bayern Munich is 3-0 up after the first leg.
But they haven't played in ages.
Yes, that's just it. And they were... What was I going to say? 1-1 is Napoli and Barcelona. But has anyone... When I say anyone, I'm not expecting you to have kept tabs on anything Aussie, but has Bayern Munich played any games since the season's finished?
Not that I've seen. I've been looking for friendlies and all that. I haven't seen Bayern play any matches.
Because that's a real worry for them. Okay, so they've got Marseille lined up tomorrow.
Right.
Oh, Champions League's on tomorrow?
Midnight. No. That's just Bayern playing a friendly. And I don't think if they haven't played anything else, they could get knocked out.
Well, that's what
Chelsea.
We were saying that in earlier episodes because Chelsea's not that bad a team. I mean, obviously at full strength, if Bayern were playing, they're the stronger team. But Chelsea's not that bad, and if Bayern's that rusty, they could lose.
And I have another question: are away goals being counted in?
Look, they'll have to count them. They'll have to.
Yeah, of course. It's always been the rule. Yeah. They can't change it now.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's no home advantage now. That's the thing.
Yeah, look, I'm not. Look, I don't know 100% sure, but I would think they'd count it because they counted it in the first league, so they'd have to.
I can't see. I assume that they won't change it.
But no, I'm with you. I don't see the point. Yeah.
But the thing is, the reason I mention that is because Bayern's playing, quote unquote, at home in this game. So Chelsea just need to beat Bayern by 3 goals. Just need to beat them by 3 goals. They need to beat them by 3 goals, but it doesn't matter if it's a 3-0, 4-1, 5-2, or anything like that. Because they're playing at Bayern, and that will technically be an away goal, despite the fact that they have no crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
So Chelsea have a massive opportunity to pull off, one of those
famous
asterisk comebacks.
Yeah, those famous Champions League
very
nights.
One. Yeah. But yeah, it's Bayern Munich doesn't look like they've played anything since the break. I'm just gonna confirm. Let's see. This is okay. So their last fixture was in July, and that was like at the start of the month. So they haven't played for a month basically. So it's not that bad. And that was against Bayer Leverkusen in the Pokal final, so the German Cup.
Oh.
And Germany, and Bayern won that one 4-2. So, not much to say there other than the fact that they couldn't keep a clean sheet. They weren't even close to keeping a clean sheet. So, there's every chance that Chelsea, who have been very match fit over the last, month or two, they've been playing fixtures almost non-stop, and also Chelsea are playing in the FA Cup final, so, and that's coming up soon, in fact. So,
they'll have a lot of games under their belt.
They're going to be very match fit. I'm just checking when the final's going to be, and then obviously the other one with not Juventus, with Napoli and Barcelona. Barcelona just finished. Napoli is still going. So they've probably got like an extra week or so. Barcelona get a bit of a break before that game, but then Barcelona are in all sorts. And Messi just came off saying, "Oh, we've had a disastrous season, basically," and so the morale won't be necessarily that high. Napoli could really have a chance to get something here, and they wouldn't even need to necessarily beat them. They just need a more than like a 2-2 draw would be enough to get them through.
That's exactly right. Again, they don't need to
away goals.
Yeah, because it was 1-1 in the reverse league, so Napoli's in with a chance here. I mean, obviously you give the edge to Barca, but it's interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, well, they're playing in Spain though, without a crowd.
Yeah.
That's, again, so we've got these two real potential upsets on the cards, which would be very interesting to see.
I'm just waiting for... the game I'm waiting for, though, is Thursday the 13th of August.
And
that is Atalanta and Paris Saint-Germain.
Oh.
That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for Atalanta.
Leipzig, who's Leipzig playing?
Atletico Madrid.
Oh.
Yeah, they're gone.
Wait, Atletico or Leipzig? Oh, okay.
Leipzig's gone. Again, actually, Atletico, not really inspiring confidence either. So, it's hard to put your finger on what's going to happen in those games. It really is.
Well, the one-legged games also have changed everything from the quarterfinals onwards, because Atletico's a team that kind of rely on the two legs. But in a one-legged tie, you got teams like Atalanta. In one match, they can just beat you and go through.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's pretty interesting to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, Atletico has sort of a tendency to sort of hang out for the result that they need, as opposed to necessarily getting the win.
They're more suited on the two-legged tie than the one. So,
yeah, they're more likely to go through on like a 0-0 draw at home and then a 1-1 draw away from home.
Yeah.
That's just the way they do things. But Spain they finished over a week ago, and they're still over a week before the Champions League starts up. So they're going to have a couple of weeks off. They could be a bit rusty too. So
they could either be rusty or they could just have had the right amount of rest. So we don't know.
Is it just me, or has Real Madrid's defensive record this season been outstanding? It's like they've completely changed the whole mentality of the club.
Yeah, well, they had a better defense than Atletico, so that says something about.
Yeah,
Real's
you're
defense.
absolutely, they conceded 45 goals this season, and apparently
I think.
no,
continue.
sorry, that 25 goals have only conceded this season.
Yeah, 25
so
goals, 70 scores.
Yeah, and Courtois had
Yeah, Courtois won the Golden Glove. He has the most clean sheets in all of Europe. So big turnaround for him.
Yeah, so Real Madrid could actually beat Man City. They're not out of it.
Oh no, they do. That's another big one because, again, this is in playing in Manchester City. So Real Madrid just need to win need to score twice and beat Man City. If they win 2-1, obviously it's
extra time.
It goes to extra time.
Yeah,
but anything more, if it's like a 3-2 or something like that, Man City, despite having no home advantage, is going to have every goal they concede is going to go against them. So another interesting one. So Manchester City having a bit of a break as well because the Premier League finished maybe a week after Spain, but so they might be slightly less lethargic. But the only problem is that Man City were just in such devastating form at the end of the season. But they played all the weaker teams basically. So they didn't really get any not many intense games. Even the game against Liverpool was sort of a bit of a walkover. So they didn't get much practice against tough opposition, which might work against them come to the Real Madrid game, because if they start conceding, if they concede an early goal, then they could be in trouble.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So I think the Champions League is going to be very interesting. I think we'll actually have another episode before we get to the Champions League. We'll get to see the last team that makes up the full 20 of the Premier League next season. The Premier League starts up again in, I believe, early September. So I think they're like 40 days away or something like that. So that's not far away as well. They're basically going to have their pre-season now. Teams like...
It's something like a 6-week to 7-week break before the next season starts.
Yeah, except the teams that are in Europe don't get much of a break. So
yeah.
The whole Champions League is going to take 14 days, I think, from memory. So they'll just cut 2 weeks into their schedule. But for example, Manchester United and Wolves are still in the Europa League. Chelsea, who bloody knows what's going to happen with them? But Arsenal and Liverpool are basically going to have a massive break. And depending on how early Manchester City and the other English teams get knocked out of European competition, then we'll see how far away they are from getting into their warm-ups and their pre-season friendlies, if they have any, and all those kinds of things. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the pre-seasons and what happens with signings, because I think who's announced a whole bunch of signings. I think Chelsea have made 3 big signings: Timo Werner, possibly Kai Havertz, and there was another one that they bought. I can't remember who it was. Nathan Ake went from Bournemouth to Manchester City. That's official as well. And Manchester United are pushing for Jadon Sancho, but Dortmund are sitting strong on 120 million minimum asking price. So Manchester United want to get away with like 100 million or something like that, and looks like it might not come.
What's
through.
An extra 20 million when you're paying 100 million? Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I know, it's like it's a bit ridiculous,
so
but
stupid.
At the same time, like if you're willing to pay 100 million, you should be willing to pay 120. But at the same time, should you be willing to pay 100 million? I don't know.
The thing is, I mean,
is he like the final piece of their puzzle?
These transfer prices are crazy. When I think 100 million, I think of like buying Lionel Messi in his prime, or buying Ronaldo in his prime. These are the sorts of transfers, like 100 million. That's what I would think.
Yeah.
Not for play. Like Sancho's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but 100 million? That is crazy.
Wait, I'm starting to forget what Liverpool paid for Virgil van Dijk and Alisson because wasn't it 80 million?
Something like 75 and 80 million or something, yeah.
Because no, so Maguire was 80 million.
Oh Jesus!
I remember that.
What a rip-off.
But like they needed that kind of player and he's everyone's hanging a lot of stuff on him, but Manchester United in the second half of this season had the more clean sheets than any other Premier League club. So say what you want.
Not saying much.
The defensive, they had like 12 clean sheets or something like that.
Yeah, look who they're up against
in the last 19 games. They played Liverpool in that time, and Manchester City. They beat Manchester City twice.
Yeah, but Liverpool are chilling. They got the title. They're all good, man. And they got that loss, so that's off their shoulders. They don't.
No, but they lost to Liverpool in that time. But they beat Manchester City when Manchester City were pushing still for the title. They beat, I think they had a really good top 6 record. So.
No, that's what they do. They beat all the top teams and then just get railed by the bottom teams.
No, that's just it though. Manchester United, in the close end of the season, had a very, very good finish to the season.
Oh.
They were potentially one of the top. It's hard to say. Wait, here we go. Form. So, if you look at the form card, the last 5 games, Manchester United was second only to Manchester City. Last 10 games, they were second to Manchester City. Last 15 games, also second only to Manchester. They were better than Liverpool. In the last 20 games, they were third only to Liverpool and Manchester City. And they only picked up 6 less points than Liverpool and 2 points less than Manchester City in the last 20 games. So in the second half of the season, and they were 7 points clear of Chelsea, who were the next best team. And Southampton was just behind them, so they were really good at the end of the season. So
Bruno Fernandes changed everything.
Yeah, well, Bruno Fernandes turned all those draws into wins, basically.
Yeah.
That's what he did, and in fact, Manchester United haven't lost since I can't remember how long it's been, but they've had a very long non-losing streak. So I think it's like 12 or 13 games or something like that, not including the FA Cup, but in the league they've gone, okay, here we go, 1, 2,
their
3,
last
4,
loss
5,
no hang on
6,
I've got it here though. Their last
7,
loss
8, 9
was on the 23rd of January against Burnley. That was their last loss.
12, 13, 14. That was 15 games ago. So they've had 14 games unbeaten in the Premier League. So, Ozzie, just humble pie. Come on, let's hear it.
Nah, they're still trash.
In that time, they beat Chelsea away 2-0. Who, let's remember, were the last team to make... They beat Manchester City as well.
Although they did lose in the FA Cup to Chelsea recently.
They did.
But we don't count that.
They did. No, that doesn't count because it's... and like that was a game where I think they were clearly more focused on the Premier League, and they were playing games left, right, and centre, and they just had to... They changed like half their team, so...
Well, there you go.
I think they had... Not their reserve team in, but I think half their team was... Yeah, Fernandes was on the bench, like it was just all... I think Pogba was also on the bench. They had everyone on the bench, basically. And now, Manchester United have actually been really good to watch lately, so... yeah, and I don't normally say that of Manchester United, but...
Yeah, that's weird, bro.
Got to give credit to it. I mean, since the pandemic, Oz, they drew 1-1 with Tottenham, but then... They won 3-0, 3-0, 5-2, forget that one, 3-0 again, 2-2, 2-0, 1-1, and 2-0. So I think they've had, what's that, like 5, 6, 7 clean sheets since coming back from coronavirus. So I think that's more than anybody else. So hats off to Manchester United. So It could be good next season, man. It could be good. But all right. So next week it's all about the championship. Who goes in there and then? How does the Serie A finish, and how does everyone get geared up for the first week of Champions League, which is going to be very tantalising. And then it's all eyes on the Champions League until it's over. So I'm looking forward to that. Ozzie, I think you should start watching again. At least highlights.
No, I'm actually really excited for the Champions League. That's the one thing I do like to try and wake up for here and there.
What about the Europa League?
No, I'm good. Just Champions League for me.
but your team's in it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not watching.
They're going to take on the mighty Lusk. Come on, mate. You got to watch.
Yeah, they're going to get pumped by Lusk. So I'm out. I ain't watching.
Yeah, not to take anything away from the Europa League. That's starting on the 6th, so just before the Champions League. So, we might actually be able to talk about the first few rounds of that next week. But unless anybody has anything to add, I think we'll wrap it up.
Do you watch much Turkish football, Oz?
No, I wish I did, but Turkish football is just a place for a lot of people to retire, like the American League. It's like Samuel Eto'o at 48 and bloody Ryan Babel at the end of his career.
It won't be the place to retire anymore since their financial issues came into play. But
what do you mean?
Oh no, they had this whole trouble with money, and basically none of the top 3 teams won this season because they're all just going through just complete disasters financially. And a team that's basically I think there's been 2 clubs that have won it in the last 50 years that aren't like the top 3.
Yeah, that's why I brought them up, because Istanbul Başakşehir, I think I've pronounced that right, have won their first...
Still a team from Istanbul.
But they've won their first ever Turkish league title this season.
Because everyone else was a dog. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
And because
everyone else has gone through the depression, and they came through. Like, it's like Stephen Bradbury in what's it called? In you know, the Winter Olympics with the ice skating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but no one slipped.
Yeah.
No one slipped.
Yeah,
They just didn't have money for the equipment, so everyone left. And he just went over the line on his own. I think that's
they just weren't affected because they were so far behind financially that they didn't rely on big wages to get through. So they're like, oh, no money. That's normal. We keep going. Hey, look, we won. So this is good. Hey, good news.
We'll sell more cement. That's fine. We'll be fine.
No. Anyway, but thanks guys for coming on. We'll be back in a week after some championship and some Europa League fixtures are through. For those who have not seen our YouTube channel, go check that out. Cosmic Commentary is hard to miss. And if anyone's listening to this from our YouTube channel, this is the podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Look up Cosmic Commentary and you can find us there. So, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll speak to you next time.
Awesome, thanks for having me. See you guys.